Hello, welcome to our latest live stream. We're joined today by Fiona, who will hopefully introduce herself in a moment. This is as part of a series of live streams that we're doing with our funders, but also charity partners as well. And Fiona and I have met a couple of times over the last couple of months to explore working together, which then propelled itself into a totally different direction. But this is partly to help understand and showcase the work of the charities across our borough, what they do, how we get involved with them, how you can access support from them, and just take any questions that may come up throughout the session. Fiona, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, so I'm Fiona Price and I'm the Chief Executive Officer of AgeUK Berkshire. AgeUK Berkshire is sounds like a very large, grand national charity. It's not. It's a local charity that supports in the region of 18,000 older people throughout the whole of Berkshire. And just in case anybody's worried, by older people, that means anybody over the age of 50, I'm afraid. So that nearly includes, I think, Jake and I now, but we're not going to admit that in public.
I'm not admitting it. Okay, no, that's great. So let's talk about some of your projects then. What do you do? What are you actually delivering? Let's talk about normal times, actually. So what do you do in normal times?
Okay,
if there's ever been a normal time.
I was going to say normal time seems like a long time ago now. So normally we have a number of different services. We have some free of charge services, so they're absolutely free for everybody to access at the point of contacts. So that's things like our befriending service. So we do that either face-to-face or by telephone, although obviously we're doing more telephone now. We do a lot of work around information and advice for people over 50, their friends, families and carers, worrying about retirement, paying for care, what happens when they go into hospital, what happens when they get out, what kind of benefits can they access, what kind of support do they need. And then we do a whole load of really practical services. So we do something called Easy Shop, which is help with shopping online. And obviously we've seen some issues around that in recent weeks with the supermarket online shopping. We do some help at home services, so that can be anything from going around and helping people and cleaning, right through to prescription pickup, right through to very practical, have a cup of tea, have a little chat, maybe help out a little bit in the garden. And then we do a whole load of work around more specialist services. So that's things like home from hospital support, which we particularly do in the Wokingham area, and that works very well. So that's getting people either out of the Royal Berkshire Hospital or Wokingham Hospital as well. So that's two hospitals we work with. And then we do a lot of other things. So we do dementia support. We do some dementia cafes in the times where we could all get together and have a chat and a cup of tea, and hopefully a bit of cake. So we do those in West Berkshire, Reading and Wokingham as well. We do social prescribing in Reading. Sorry, the list keeps on going on, I'm afraid. It's quite a few things. And then we do a specialist money management service. So that's particularly for people who are struggling to access their own funds, maybe through disabilities. As we know, getting to a bank can get incredibly difficult. I'm finding it difficult getting to a bank at the moment, never mind anybody else. So we offer a service that helps people access their finances as well. And then in the normal scheme of things, we do a whole load of activity classes. So Tai Chi, Zumba, chair yoga, badminton. We have a gardening group and an allotment group. So yes, lots of things that unfortunately are not quite happening at the moment with the current situation.
So you're a bit different to us in that you're across Berkshire, whereas obviously we then have Wokingham, Bracknell, Maidenhead and Windsor Sitting Device. So what does that then mean for you and the services you deliver in those areas?
So what it means is that we, in an ideal world, would like to offer all our services across the whole of the Berkshire area. And the whole of the Berkshire area is the old traditional county lines of Berkshire. So that's Slough, Windsor and Maidenhead, Bracknell, Wokingham, Reading and West Berkshire. So that's 6 local authority areas, which is obviously quite a large population. So we tend to find that we do different bits of work in different areas. In an ideal world, I'd like to do everything. But our philosophy as a charity that supports older people is to really make sure that we work in partnership with as many organisations as we possibly can. And anybody that comes to us for help and support, if we don't directly deliver the service that they need in that area, then we'll work with one of our partners or somebody that we know in the local area to make sure that they can access that help and support that they need. And that's what's important to us. It's not necessarily just about us delivering that service direct. It's about linking people up with the people in their local area that have the expertise to do it. And if we can help with that, then that's what we're more than happy to do.
Yeah, well, that's what's interesting, though, because obviously as the geography is a bit different then for you because we have the different setup. But I wanted to say on the setup as well, because you did say at the beginning about the brand. So we're quite similar again in the 5 sitting devices that we have across Berkshire, because we don't have one in Slough anymore, are local charities, just as you are as well. So we have a local CEO, which is both of us, across our organisations, and trustee boards that are members of the local community as well. So we are absolutely local, but we do benefit from that national brand reputation. You know, don't know how long AgeUK has been going, but since Twice ran for 81 years now. So.
Yeah, so AgeUK itself has been going since 1950.
Okay.
So quite
Younger
some
than
time.
us. That AgeUK is younger than us.
There you go. And obviously in the local area, we've been going since about 1960. So again, quite some time. And we do find that people get confused because obviously AgeUK as a name is relatively well known. And it was formed out of when Help the Aged and Age Concern joined together way back in the kind of early 2000s. So again, there's lots of names there associated with older people's charities. So we still quite frequently get called Age Concern. We're no longer an Age Concern, but the philosophy is exactly the same. Yeah. So yeah, and we work with any of those partner charities to make sure that we can help as many people as possible.
Yeah, which is great. So again, how can people get access to your support then? What's the best route in for them?
So certainly you can easily, although we're no longer in the office, we did manage to make our technology work as soon as we got hit with lockdown. So if you ring our main number, which is 0118 959 4242, you'll get straight through to a member of the team who'll be able to help and sort out and point you in the right direction with anything you need help and support with. We've also got a website, again, ageukberkshire.org.uk, and then we can certainly answer any questions by email. So we've been doing a lot more work, interestingly, on email, which is info@ageukberkshire.org.uk. And you've put it up straight away, Jake. That's brilliant.
But the email address is too long for me to write quite quickly. So.
The wonder of technology.
And I think it's important to say as well, and it's obviously not that, because we have a lot of old people who are on computers and stuff, but people can contact on their behalf. Is that what you were saying a bit earlier on?
Absolutely, 100%. So we're more than happy to speak to friends, family, anybody who's concerned about an older person and what help and support they feel they can access. We're more than happy to help with any queries like that. We frequently get calls from neighbours who'd like some information about how they can maybe help somebody who lives locally, or even from grandchildren. I think we're probably a little bit like you guys in terms of our information and advice. We always see big peaks in requests for help following holidays. So when there's a Christmas holiday, when people have seen their parents or grandparents, we get a big influx of questions. The same around Easter and summer holidays. So we're always very well, hopefully, prepared to help and support as many individuals and family members as we can.
Yeah, that's brilliant. So just wanted to touch upon 2 more subjects, and one of them was the pandemic response. So I said we'd met a couple of times beforehand to try and work together and see what we could do, and now we are on calls nearly every day with each other, which is a total transformation. Not just us, just in case there are any rumours that go around, but led by the council. So, you know, we're both part of the Voluntary Sector Action Group set up by Wokingham Borough Council on the 16th of March, I think it was, wasn't it, when we were all pulled together?
Yeah,
so what's
absolutely.
your role in the coronavirus response? Let's say 2, though, because obviously you've got your Wokingham aspect, but what is the charity also doing in the response to coronavirus?
So in Wokingham, we've been particularly pleased and actually quite proud to serve the community in the way that we have done. And I think Wokingham have been brilliant really making sure that the charities are leading front and centre, particularly through CAB, to make a real difference to Wokingham residents. So it's really about the charities working together in the first case to make sure that we're all talking, that we have different roles within the borough and that we all know exactly what we're up to, so that we can really have a really concerted response that's really joined up for those residents that we support. And I think that's been brilliant, actually. And Wokingham, I have to say, we're well ahead of everybody else in the Berkshire area at getting that together and really getting the sign up from the charities.
And can I just say, because obviously I've still got to answer my question, but I just want to say on that bit, and I don't want it to be like a power thing, but I think having the key decision makers around the table, because there's, again, and maybe you'll say it in your answer, but I think there have been key moments for me in those 13 weeks of the calls we've had, where someone has raised something and something substantial has come from that being raised at that moment in time.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely right. And I think one of the key things that it's highlighted is actually the forum has been, and the discussions have been at exactly the right level. So because we've had the right level within the council and the right level of buy-in, it's meant that when things have been raised that we've maybe heard direct from residents, either you, your team, my team, whatever team from one of the charities, then immediately they've been dealt with, and they may not have been sorted, but there's been a plan put in place. And I think the mere fact that those concerns that have been raised have been treated with the understanding and the knowledge and the support, I think that's been really, really important.
Well, you raised about mobility, didn't you? Which was particularly what I'm thinking of as a recent example.
Yeah, so you know, that was one of the key things where we saw straight away, particularly because one of the responses that we support with in Wokingham is our home from hospital, and obviously that's been through a very difficult time in the last couple of months with lockdown. We've gone through peaks and troughs. We've gone through issues with people coming out of hospital who've maybe tested positive and not been aware of it. So we've had a number of different issues raised around that. But you know, recently we spoke very clearly at one of those meetings, which you referred to, Jake, about how worried we were about some of the individuals we were seeing that have been in lockdown for so long, and actually they're really struggling to get around, not just within their own homes. They're beginning to shuffle around, but they've maybe not been out at all for 12, 13 weeks. And straight away, the council were more than happy to look into, okay, let's see what we can do. Not just them going off and doing something, which again, I think it's important to emphasize that it's been a joint solution to make sure that we can tackle some of those issues together with our local knowledge of the clients and their you know, good workforce and knowledge around some of those issues, which has been brilliant.
Absolutely.
And it's been very different across different areas that we work with. So we already work with lots of the other local authorities. In fact, we work with most of them. The other one that we've been particularly involved in is Reading. So they have been worked in a different way to Wokingham. They have not quite been as joined up with the voluntary sector as Wokingham have, but they've been very keen to listen and get feedback and share information, which is good. So we've been doing lots of different things across both that area and Wokingham, which has included things like going out to collect, you know, help with people's shopping if we possibly can, a little bit of prescription help. And obviously a lot of the people that we support with home from hospital, normally that's a very short-term service, 2 to 3 weeks. But that's been lasting for some individuals through the entire period of the pandemic. But actually we've got to know some amazing individuals through that and hopefully supported them through what's been a really tough time for them. So that's exactly why we're here. We're here to help and support in that way, particularly for some of those most vulnerable in our area and in the community in general in Berkshire at the moment.
And that's a huge thank you to you, and well done to the team as well, the staff and volunteers that you have, which was going to come on to my next question. But obviously for, again, I'd say probably obviously all the organisations that have been involved in response, whether or not they've been part of that official council response or whether they have obviously gone ahead alone or with other partners, I think it's just been remarkable that a lot of us could have just took that step back and said, actually, this is all far too complicated right now. Let's just ride it out, which I think would have actually been a fair assessment as well, because it's all a lot of uncertainty. But actually, your team, our team, prepared to roll the sleeves up. And I think that's what makes charities so special as well, because it's value driven.
Absolutely. And I think the other thing that it's done is, as bad as the pandemic's been, and in many cases, it's created a sense of cohesion, a sense of community, a sense of pulling together, in some cases, a sense of optimism. But actually, when I go out in my local area now, everybody says good morning, good afternoon. We smile at each other. That wasn't happening before, for various different reasons. But I think that's important. And I think particularly the conversations that we've had around loneliness over the last couple of months, I think that's actually become more important, because, just having those briefest of conversations with people, socially distancing in the street, has meant a huge difference to some people and to their day-to-day well-being, and that's hugely important.
So I think this conversation is really, really useful. So thank you very much. I just wanted to finish on how people can make a difference then. So obviously there's volunteering, so I don't know if you want to mention that, but I do think you've just said things that can make an impact on communities and older people's lives. So I just wondered whether there was something on that as well.
Yeah, so I think two things. Let's talk about volunteers first. So we're always, as all local charities are, we're heavily reliant on our volunteers, and they're absolutely fantastic. But we are always needing more volunteers. And what are you looking
for volunteers for at the moment?
So at the moment, we're looking for some volunteers, and we always look for volunteers around our befriending. So that's either visiting somebody when things get back to normal in their own home, or maybe outside or at a cafe. We also do a bit of a buddying scheme. So that might be helping people to go out and about to do different things in different areas. So it could be going to an activity class together, or it could be going to the football together, whatever suits, now that the football's back on, albeit behind closed doors. We're also always looking out for people to help with our online shopping. We've seen a particular increase in that over the last couple of weeks. And we had some very traumatic times at the start of the pandemic where, we support a couple of hundred people a week with online shopping, and all the slots went one week. So we're always looking for people who can help with our online shopping. That's something that can be done at home, can be done quite easily, and it involves a really nice call to an older person to just have a little chat with them, and also to go through and take their online shopping order for them. So that's a real lifeline to some of the individuals that we work with that normally can't get out and about, and obviously even more can't get out and about at the moment. And then generally we always need, and we'd encourage people to come in and help in the office. So very similar to you guys, we can never have too many information and advice, help and support and advisors. That's really important to us. And then just general office management. Again, we never seem to keep on top of it. We can never, we can never get to the bottom of these things, can we, with the administration that we have to complete. So again, we're more than happy. We usually have a couple of people come in, particularly in the summer, and I'd encourage younger people in the summer, if they want some work experience, then that would be fantastic. Please contact us. As Jake said, all the website has got all the details of our volunteering on it as well, and go in there and have a look, and that would be brilliant. So so that was volunteering. What was the other thing we were going to talk about?
Just about how people can have an impact on people's lives in the community themselves.
So I think one of the things that we've seen throughout this pandemic is a real increase and a real positive focus on loneliness, particularly in the older generation. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying that loneliness only affects the older generation. It doesn't. Loneliness and social isolation can affect anybody, but we do predominantly see a lot more of it in the older generation. In many ways, that's because they have maybe disparate families that are geographically scattered, or they've lost their friends and family, or they're feeling a little bit disconnected from society because they maybe don't have access to online or to technology. So loneliness, I think, is a big thing. And I think over the next couple of months, it's never not gone away, but I think it will become particularly important over the next couple of months. So those conversations about, good morning, how are you? Hello, how are you? Standing, having a conversation, smiling at somebody when you pass them in the street. they all go a long way to making somebody who's maybe not gone out for a couple of days and maybe lives on their own, to making a real difference to their general health and well-being. I think that's incredibly important and will continue to be. Obviously, we've done a lot of work around telephone befriending. Again, that's brilliant. Just stopping and having a chat, checking in on your older neighbours. You know, how are you? Putting a note through the door, a little card just to say, you know, if you need anything, because this isn't going to go. I know we're easing lockdown, but this isn't going to go away for a lot of people for quite some time. So we just need to be a little bit conscious of that. And I think the other thing that's become really quite important, and a lot of people interestingly are seeing this more and more over the last couple of weeks, is that age is just a number. You know, we keep on talking about people over 70 needing to do such and such, or people over this age needing to do something different. And I think actually what we need to remember is that everybody's an individual. And I see as many sprightly 100-year-olds as I do not so sprightly 50-year-olds. So I think it's really good to remember that age is just a number. And actually we should be respectful of people's views, and we should be friendly, community spirited, and hopefully as supportive and as friendly as we possibly can be going forward. Because we're coming to the end of this, we hope, and keep our fingers crossed, so we're coming into a new normal. But I think there's still a lot of work to be done to make sure that particularly the older generation feel included and part of not just society, but their local community going forward.
Absolutely. I think that's a perfect message to end on. We'll leave it there.
Lovely. Okay. Thank you. Thanks,
cool.
Jake.
Thank you very much, Fiona. And if anyone wants to watch any of these back or see any others, just go to our website, which is sittingdevicewokingham.org.uk, and you'll be able to rewatch Fiona's interview and inspirational messages and words, and see other interviews as well.